I started the 4th mission after completing the public event in the Zephyr Concourse. While we successfully infiltrated the Typhon Imperator, one of Calus' special operatives brought our attack against the Radial Mast to a grinding halt.
So, going directly after Calus kinda blew up in our faces.
We need to be looking at the bigger picture. We want to protect the Veil. We first and foremost need to protect the Cloud Ark.
Rohan, I think we're still a little fuzzy here. What exactly is the Cloud Ark?
It's our city's network, our infrastructure, our people, our defenses. Everything depends on it.
And what we're doing now is stopping the Vex from siphoning energy from the Cloud Ark's reactor. We do that, the Veil's safe, the Neomuni are safe. Bang bang boom. Starteritas on Rohan.
Make your way to the Cloud Ark reactor. We'll head to the central power junction. Once you cycle the system, we'll be able to return power to the reactor.
We're on it.
Nimbus reflects upon our events and summarizes it as going after Calus blowing up in our face. First of all, we did not actually go against Calus directly. This ties into my second point and challenges Nimbus' position, as they did not recognize why we attacked the Radial Mast to begin with. The Radial Mast was the weapon Calus was using at the time in order to finish the Veil, and from everything we know, which is nothing, that would have been a catastrophe. Thus, while it seems like we did not destroy the Radial Mast, we at least prevented it from gathering enough energy to where Caiatl was able to come in and launch our assaults on the Typhon Imperator. Rohan would like for us to focus on the better way to protect the Veil, and that conveniently involves us protecting the Cloud Ark, a network that can be thought of as the real Neomuna as it powers the city and hosts the consciousness of its denizens. While the destruction of the city and people would be unfortunate, Nimbus and Rohan have not proved themselves to justify us aiding them in dealing with this distraction. Surely Nimbus and Rohan can take care of the Vex threat and save their own city while I work with Caiatl and Osiris to work on the Calus problem. There's no indication that saving the Cloud Ark will increase our success rate when it comes to defending the Veil. So this entire operation seems like a waste of my skill set as the only Guardian on Neomuna. In any case, we stumbled into Lemming Harbor. A Vex battalion set up a barricade that I must break past. Nothing out of the ordinary occurs for the most part. Things do finally get a little dicey as I jump shot the Cyclops simply because I could. One of the largest packs of goblins, led by a Minotaur, just pop into existence and drop my health to a critical condition. Thanks to the angle I was at though, I dodged the rest of the goblins' blast like I was Neo and managed to survive the encounter. While I surgically removed the malignancy, I can't help but feel that goblins had stormtrooper aim. It also didn't really matter if I died because my light was not restricted in this area. I appreciated the amount of goblins though. Seeing such a large troop of enemies flared a sense of excitement within me. With them dead, I only needed to take care of the Cyclops blocking the entrance in order to head inside. Also, I know I mentioned that I learned how to use a waveframe grenade launcher, but if you are actually watching my gameplay, my actions have often betrayed my words.
Just so we're clear, if the Cloud Ark is lost, what does that mean for the Neomuni?
All our citizens have uploaded their consciousness into the Cloud Ark. No Cloud Ark means lights out for everyone in Neomuna.
Ah, so it's bad. Got it.
As we reach the Radiosonde, we were able to feel the paracausal energy of the darkness, and thus can look within to regain our newly discovered abilities. The different sections of the buildings have outside entrances that act as a shortcut. This section is visually neat as we glimpse down to the city below. It also acts as a tutorial for the grappling hook mechanic of Strand. It's just a shame then that this section is incredibly short, presumably doesn't even need Strand to cross, and is trying to teach us a mechanic we've already previously used when becoming Strand empowered.
Hey, it worked that time! Why did it work that time? Huh. It's like you're pulling on some kind of invisible ropes. I'm detecting those sources as a concentration of energy coming from a common source. It's got to be the Veil. Like some sort of magnetic field all around Neomuna. Let's keep an eye out for more of those.
Our Ghost wonders why our abilities work that time around, and I'm not sure what previous time our Ghost is referring to. So I can't say anything about this line because I'm only left confused by it no matter how I try to wrap my head around it. Moving on, our Ghost then does the hard work by processing our feelings of using the power of Strand because our character isn't ever allowed to voice our own thoughts. In any case, it's clear that the concentration of the power we manifest is sourced from the Veil. The Witness gave us stasis, and the Veil gave us strand. This is in contrast to the Traveler gifting us with 3 different light elements. I'm not sure how much I can really read into this, but it seems like the difference in how these different paracausal energies manifested within us might hint towards their greater nature. You can discover yours by liking this video. I placed down the first campaign banner of this mission, but before going over the combat, I instead wish to mention that the interior of this location is a little lacking. Part of that reason is because the Vex are attacking a location that is rather utilitarian. Decorating the building hosting the central power unit for the Cloud Arc wouldn't make too much sense. Although I guess you could argue that this place should then have the most advanced technology for those reasons, but that argument would then lead me to ask too many questions about these now digital beings, so I'll stop myself while I'm ahead. It is curious, though, that every location so far has been pristine with not even a bit of dust or discord. Nonetheless, I have multiple reasons for harping on this issue, but the biggest one is that the Breakneck collapse on Europa had a rather striking visual identity. So when I think of the highly polished futuristic look in relation to Destiny, that's what I'm thinking of. Cyberpunk as a style implies a certain visual flair, and the lack of that in something like neon lighting is a missed opportunity when lighting and visuals are an aspect Destiny excels in. Obviously, I'm not saying that any of these locations look bad. They still hit the usual bar of quality. They just lack the distinct flair of the snowy and barren landscape of Europa or the pristine sheen of Savathun's throne world. New Muna is far better than the moon though. Like, it's not even close. This is a vibe-related issue. Dimming the rooms and utilizing only vibrant lights would almost certainly improve these feelings. While we're finally inside a New Moonian building, the floor plan is still pretty open, and so I have plenty of room to maneuver around. While numerous, goblins are a joke. Some of the objects have a destructible element, and it's cool to see the screen shatter. I wish they were a little bit more relevant in shaking up the gameplay though. After dismantling the trash, a wyvern and its royal guard rushes me down. The wyvern, being elevated to a major status, pushes me back. This actually complements the room's design. The boss forces me to retreat in a certain direction while occupying a certain space. I once again manage to hold my trigger finger and prevent me from killing myself, so I can instead execute the wyvern. I shatter a glass gate and then eviscerate the following vent. Of course, this is when the game decides it's the most appropriate time to display the destroy the vent hint pop-up. Amazing.
Guardian, I'm almost at the central power junction. Ready to blast this power back to the Cloud Arc once you've cycled the system.
Hold on. These Vex are short-circuiting voluntarily. Ah, okay. You'll have to clean up those Vex confluxes before heading to the reactor.
We haven't observed this kind of behavior before. Hope you're taking notes, Nimbus.
On the headless robot dance? Yeah, I've seen it before. It's gotta be a way for them to create a gateway to the Cloud Arc. Or express themselves emotionally. I don't know, who can say, honestly. Guardian, I'm almost at the central power junction. Ready to blast this power back to the Cloud Arc once you've cycled the system.
Nimbus hints more at what exactly we're trying to do. While they repower the Cloud Arc, we are going to cycle the system. In terms that make sense to me, it sounds like all we're going to do is unplug the cable from the outlet, wait 10 seconds for the circuit to discharge, and then plug it back in. Nimbus will be the one hitting the power button. While that happened, we witnessed some Vex voluntarily short-circuiting. I'm unironically going to steal that line. This behavior is whack, but piques my curiosity. It seems like their sacrifice is done in order to power up a conflux. Our ghost is fairly calm, and through its dialogue, conveys that my guardian is familiar with this phenomenon. Rohan, like me though, takes note of this strange behavior. Nimbus has seen this in the past and can make a few educated guesses at what is happening, but is still ultimately clueless. I destroy the conflux. An extra tiny harpy flies past me as I do so. I fail to shoot it, and it traps me in a cybernetic cell. My Burglass curve still had a hail bra stack, and so when I fired an arrow, I created a bunch of crystals directly in my face. This caused me to at least realize that I could damage the cell I was in. However, it was slightly too late. The cleanup on the respawn was a simple task though, even if I died in an additional time due to failing a jump. Like, how did the splash damage from the first floor plants cut my health in half?
This station's power output is unbelievable. Earth was decades away from technology like this, even during the Golden Age.
The Cloud Arc needs a lot of juice. Like we said earlier, it supports all the Neomuni, the city's defenses, and also the Veil's defenses. Once we get that power, we'll have all the backup we need to take back the Veil from Calus.
That's good. We're going to need all the help we can get.
Ghost making the comparison of Neominus technology stacked up against Earth in its golden age helped calibrate my baseline. It also speaks volumes about how advanced Earth was at the time, because Neomina has been able to exist for who knows how much longer ever since the first collapse. The following tight room, lit entirely red thanks to the lighting, is a good example of more of what I want. The open turbine room also brings about an interesting layout and some neat visual elements. I reach the top. The Vex constructed another conflux and have begun sacrificing themselves. I place down the second campaign banner before destroying the conflux. This room is another good example of lighting helping set the tone and mood of this location. The purple lighting would stand out even more though if this room was a little bit darker. The barrier behind us also locks us in, and now, all of a sudden, this room is infinitely more congested. My Hail Barrage sacks conjured a wall and blocked my line of sight from Calixte system ward Finality. Because of the segmented shield rotating around the Hydra, I finally learned how to use my Wakeframe grenade launcher correctly. However, due to this being a boss-type enemy, it didn't do nearly enough damage, and thus I closed in with my Apex Predator. My first rocket landed, but the moment I fired my second rocket, one of the extra small Vex Harpies jailed me. The game created the actual hitbox of the Vex cell before showing the visuals, which is why my second rocket blew up in my face. I gave the encounter another go. This time around, I'm imprisoned almost immediately, so it seems like my stasis crystals actually blocked the jailer the first time around. This Vex cell also takes an absurd amount of time to destroy with just my basic arrows. The worst part is that the suppression effect prevents me from using my abilities, so I can't even draw my healing rift. The Hydra finishing me off after teleporting right next to me did not help this affair. Killing the consumed goblins was like playing aim labs when it came to my third attempt. I cooked my grenade in order to drop a turret directly on the Hydra as it spawned in. I also made sure to stay behind the pillar, so I had some cover just in case I got trapped. My aggressiveness unfortunately negated this bit of safe play though. The room being cramped made maneuvering around the enemies a significant challenge. This one Quantum Minotaur in particular screwed me over by teleporting away from my bullet. I got a bit lucky as the rest of the goblins missed and allowed me to heal from my rift.
It's escaping. Wait, why did it leave?
Weird. Something's off. Keep going, but keep an eye out.
For some reason, the Hydra backed off as we depleted the first section of its health. We chased after it. This leads me to breaking a vent and dropping into a room with some live exposed wires. This is an asset that was drastically underused. In fact, this might be the only time we ever see this, even though using Strand to not get electrocuted by live wires should have been a greater part of the gameplay loop. Regardless, we find some more Vex sacrificing themselves to a conflux. This is where it becomes clear to me that chasing the Hydra deeper and deeper is the structure of this encounter, and that there will be a third and final phase. My light was still restricted, and so I played it a bit safe. This room is small and could have proven itself even more annoying to fight through. But the Vex just decided not to spawn in. This made the second phase of this fight weirdly easy. The Hydra retreats once more. A missing wall panel provides me with the opportunity to chase after it.
I'm in place, and I can see you're coming up to the reactor. Stop the Vex from siphoning the station and we're golden.
We reached the reactor room. This is the final defense of the assaulting Vex forces. We get a closer look at the construction of the battery siphoning energy from the Veil and powering the Cloud Arc. And while the overall look is clean, it's not nearly as alien as I imagined it to be. This room is also the smallest, which forces the ads directly in your face. However, this possible danger is counteracted by the two very obvious boxes, which act as pieces of cover in the back of the room. There are also not nearly enough goblins protecting what I would consider to be the most important room in this building. So, even though the Hydra is still dangerous, is never really able to capitalize on its lethality, and thus I managed to kill it with my wayframe launcher from halfway across the map.
And that does it. How's it looking, Rohan?
Something's still siphoning power. Look around for any remaining Vex influence.
Some Vex parasites still remain, and so I destroy them before I reboot the reactor.
That's it!
Power cycling. Once it's back on, it'll be running the Cloud Arc.
Something feels off here. That was a little too easy.
The main lights turning off allowed the accent lights to shine and set the tone of the future encounters.
What do you say we expedite that exit, folks? I got Shadow Legion on my tail.
What? What are they doing here?
Well, considering I'm getting shot at, I'd say it's for us. Get out of there, Guardian. It's a trap.
Nimbus, get yourself out of there.
Okay, and that's a bomb.
Mapping an escape route.
The Shadow Legion capitalized on our attack and third-partied us. For some reason, Nimbus thinks this is a trap. I highly doubt that the Shadow Legion had to manipulate the Vex to siphon energy in the first place. In any case, having to fight our way back out, this time against Calus' forces, is a good way of bringing their influence to a level we have to backtrack through. This also reduces the feeling of how it feels, like so far, everything we've done was completely irrelevant.
I think I'm in the clear, but man, it's rough out there. Guardian?
Still in the rough part.
I cleared the way forward and can feel the reemergence of some paracausal strands. I died here because I accidentally walked forward too far. A hidden Cabal turret almost killed me the second time around, but the only person allowed to kill me is myself.
Guardian, I'm detecting bombs. A lot of bombs. The Shadow Legion are trying to lock us in. Remapping the escape route.
They're swarming! Get out of there now!
Our ghost made the Shadow Legion's objective clear, and they aren't joking around. Immediately, after placing down the third campaign banner, 2 Tormentors jump me. I drop a Bleak Watcher where they stood before finding my way to the high ground. The threat of 2 Tormentors in a smallish room was not something I wanted to deal with, and thus I popped my super immediately in the hopes of killing at least one of them. Winter's Wrath is not great when it comes to single target DPS, but after a single rocket from my Apex Predator, I could finish the first one off. Aside from the Tormentors, the more normal Cabal enemies, like the Señors, kept the situation precarious. I have no idea how it keeps on happening, but I managed to not kill myself with my rocket launcher again. This allowed me to finish off the Tormentor and escape the room instead of having to repeat this section. We are able to become Strand a woman moments after. I know that we are still learning how to use Strand, but I think we should have been able to use it during this earlier fight. With the power of Strand though, we are able to make our own path up, albeit there might have been some misgivings along the way.
You have there, in the right context.
In the right context? Don't listen to him, Guardian. He's just grumpy that he didn't find it first.
Power's returning to the Cloud Arc. Great work, everyone. That's what I call a well-earned win.
Escaping the building with an explosion makes us a cool guy. at least until I turn around to look at what is happening. Our job was a success. And of course, we don't concern ourselves with the building's remaining defenses, just in case the Vex or the Shadow Legion launch a second assault. Nimbus and Rohan also just know about our new powers, and also just so happen to call it Strand. I'll take it that Osiris informed them of these powers, but I want to know how they know that we used it in order to escape the building when none of them are here with us. That's just a little weird. The mission ends here. From the top of the building, the view of Neomina's sky is an amazing sight.
I talked with Osiris. You know, he gives off uptight museum volunteer vibes, but he's a nice guy when you catch him one-on-one. He got me thinking, which is a compliment I can give very few people. There's a place nearby you two might find useful for your Strand stuff. I'll get you the coordinates. Speaking of compliments, you never fail to amaze me, you know that? Everything that's come at us, you're just like, oh, bam, pew, pew, ow. And suddenly whatever's coming at us ain't coming at us anymore. And we just keep doing it, like it's nothing. Wow. The first time Rohan told me I did a good job, I'd given up hoping for it, and by the time I got it, I didn't need it. In hindsight, I think he did that on purpose, but whatever. I promised myself I'd do it different when I took over. The old man might think compliments go straight to your head. But if that helps you Strandify and us take down Calus, by all means, let it go to your head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Nimbus's yapping was pretty pointless, but I can appreciate his energy, I guess. I more so have an issue with how the mission just went. Level and encounter-wise, it was neat. But story-wise, it feels like our actions were a waste of time. Like, what was Rohan doing? Why couldn't he do this instead? This pertains to him and his people directly. Also, this post-Nimbus recap text is actually trolling me. Really? You're telling me that the Neomunian citizens who have not done anything so far and have fucked off into the Matrix will be able to contribute to resisting Calus's assault on their city? Really? Are you sure about that? Why didn't they just do what I did then? Speaking of, what is Calus up to? I still have no idea what happened to the Typhon Imperator, or the Radial Mast for that matter, after Caiatl's assault. Why is Nimbus making Osiris and I go circle jerk each other about Strand when we should instead be investing these resources into figuring out what Calus is doing and how to stop him? Sure, these new powers are useful, but probably not useful enough to be what will change the tide into our favor. If they are, though, that means that Strand will have overpowered the rest of our subclasses, and in that case, I'll need to have a strong talking with the Traveler for giving me so hard. In the previous campaign, we had a strong goal driving our desire to solve the key mystery of how Savathun obtained the light. This time around, we have a similar goal in stopping Calus, along with the mystery of Neomuna and the Veil. However, so far, Neomuna has just been another city, instead of being something completely foreign to us. Restarting a generator is a fairly mundane activity when you boil it down. And when we asked what the Cloud Arc even is, we got a vague answer of how it's basically everything. That doesn't exactly explain how it's supposed to help us stop Calus at all, which makes it feel like what we just did was a complete waste of time. We've also gotten no further insights into what the Veil is. Like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to say about it when I don't even know what questions I need to ask.
Upon first glance, this new power appears unstable and chaotic. But I wonder if that's based on our approach. Too much, too fast. These puka creatures are curious ones. They appear semi-organic, but Nimbus claims they're a form of artificial intelligence. A fascinating, albeit odd, being nonetheless. Their attraction to this paracausal power seems instinctual. They flow in and around it effortlessly, and very clingy.
Osiris reveals to us that the flying fish are called puka, and are actually a form of artificial intelligence. He also calls Strand unstable and chaotic, but I wouldn't agree. It seems fairly linear.
When I first realized you were from Earth, I remembered the stories. The immortal light-bearing warriors chosen by the Traveler, like figures out of myth. But what do myths care about ordinary people? I imagined warlords conquering Neomuna, gods crushing us underfoot. I was wrong. Now when I see you, I see a comrade in arms. Someone who will stand with me to defend Neomuna and its people. I see a guardian.
Rohan's dialogue explicitly says what he implied last time. I think this is supposed to be character development, but we've barely interacted with him.
To all the Cabal who still follow the Empress kind.
Stand aside before your Emperor. Whether you lay down your arms or join with my Legion, you will have all the freedom of the stars, until the last.
Those who persist should ask yourselves, why do you follow a cautious Empress who has turned her back on bravery and grandeur? Even when Cabal is found, should be magnificent. Cabal!
We should probably see if Nimbus can disable that radio frequency.
I trolled a bit by testing how far the radio message would play. I don't have too much to add though. It's just interesting to hear Calus give us a greater insight into Cabal culture and how he thinks he and the rest of them should act. Caiatl also probably does not need us to baby her and to turn off a specific radio frequency, especially when the words said were quite tepid.
I'm Jisoo Colorado, reporting for Neomuna Civil News. Cloud Strider Nimbus reports that recently security measures to guard against intrusions. The Cloud Strider credits the Earth's Guardians for contributing personnel toward the dangerous operation. Despite this, more citizens have experienced nightmares. One name common to all, Nezarec.
The name Nezarec is my only interesting takeaway from this radio message. I wonder how this being is causing nightmares across the entire city when they're in the Matrix. I recapped my thoughts and feelings about the mission earlier, and so now I only ask of you to consider subscribing if you haven't, as I aim to reach 1,000 subscribers. Thanks for watching.